and welcome to ENI UK and Europe Edition. I'm Giancarlo Matera, reporting from London. We'll be bringing you news reports from around the United Kingdom and Europe this week. And we have live reporters on standby, ready to give their reports. On our program today, the British Armed Forces rehearse ahead of Prince Philip's funeral. 50 million BioNTech Pfizer vaccine doses to be delivered to the European Union. And the first of our live reporters joining us this week is Ariane Celestino. Hello, Ariane.
Today I'll be reporting on what is next for Queen Elizabeth II and how her lifetime commitment to duty is not going to change despite the death of Prince Philip.
Thank you, Ariane. Next live reporter joining us for this week's show is John Kevin Glauser. Hello, John.
Hi, Giancarlo. Today I will be reporting about COVID-19 restriction updates from the Swiss government.
Thank you so much for joining us, John. We also have a report from EBC Italy, where Italy is suggesting its restarting of its tourism industry in June. This report will be brought to us by Jenny Santiago. And also this week, in our health report, we have an exclusive interview with Aaron Paul Ortiz with a life-changing journey from gamer to professional fitness coach. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, what's going on?
Okay, we look forward to hearing your interview later.
Yeah, look forward to it as well.
Thank you. Okay, we will end today's show, as always, with our view from our window. This week, we'll be going to Geneva, Switzerland, to see its Jet 2. Okay, but first, those main news headlines again. British Armed Forces rehearse ahead of Prince Philip's funeral. As a senior royal, Prince Philip's death would normally have triggered a well-rehearsed protocol honed to precision over decades, involving pomp and pageantry before a ceremonial send-off. But coronavirus restrictions banning large public gatherings have forced the royal officials to hastily revise the plans of his funeral, codenamed Operation Fourth Bridge. A day after the Duke of Edinburgh's death, aged 99, Buckingham Palace said Saturday the ceremony would take place at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. It will be preceded by a national minute's silence. Public elements of the funeral have been taken out, and the whole service will be televised from behind the castle walls to prevent large crowds assembling. In all, just 30 people will attend as guests at the funeral, in line with government coronavirus guidelines. Alongside the Queen, now 94 years old, they are expected to be the couple's 4 children, Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward, and their grandchildren with other close family. All will have to wear face masks and observe social distancing rules. The Operation Fourth Bridge had been intended to have some 800 people at the funeral of the Duke, who is Britain's longest-serving consort. The Duke's coffin is currently at the private chapel of Windsor Castle, but will be moved on the morning of the funeral in a small ceremonial procession to St. George's Chapel. There will be a strong military presence at the funeral, reflecting his life in an association with the armed forces. The route of the procession will be lined by members of the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, and several British Army units. Buckingham Palace spokesman said, the coronavirus pandemic has, of course, required us to make significant adaptations to the original arrangement for His Royal Highness' funeral. However, we are certain that the occasion will be no less fitting a farewell to His Royal Highness, marking his significant duty and service to the nation and the Commonwealth. He added, despite these necessary changes, they still very much reflect the personal wishes of the Duke. Although the ceremonial arrangements are reduced, the occasion will still celebrate and recognize the Duke's life and his more than 70 years of service to the Queen, the United Kingdom, and the Commonwealth. 50 million BioNTech Pfizer vaccine doses to be delivered to the European Union. The EU is depending even more now on the Pfizer vaccine for immediate doses. In a statement this week, the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said that the Pfizer vaccine is bringing forward delivery of 50 million doses to the second quarter starting in this month. The delivery in the second quarter of this year was originally scheduled for the fourth quarter, but due to many factors that can disrupt the planned delivery schedules of vaccine, it is therefore important to act swiftly and anticipate and adjust whenever it is possible. The vaccine rollout in the region during the first quarter was not as strong as initially desired due to vaccine supply constraints and blood clot issues with AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. The 50 million Pfizer vaccine doses will substantially help consolidate the rollout of vaccination campaigns in the region. So far, 100 million doses have been given in the region, and 27 million people are fully vaccinated. Emerging virus variants are also a deep concern in the region, and for this reason, Europe is negotiating for 1.8 billion doses of a second-generation Pfizer vaccine for 2022 and 2023. Also said in a statement that the contract will entail not only the production of vaccine, but also the essential component. All of that will be based inside the European Union. Okay, it's time for a break now, but please come back for some more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. Now for some more interesting reports from around Europe this week. Following the passing of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, what is next for Queen Elizabeth II? Ariane Celestino joins us for more on this topic. Hello, Ariane.
Hi, Giancarlo. And yes, Queen Elizabeth II faces the twilight of a record-breaking reign without her most trusted advisor and personal confidant, husband Prince Philip. But his death last week, aged 99, is not expected to change the monarch's lifetime commitment to duty, as a new chapter beckons for Britain's most famous family. The Queen, who turns 95 next week, once described the Duke of Edinburgh as her strength and stay in a rare moment of public conduct. He has been credited with the successful running of the firm, cementing the royal family's position in national life and helping it to weather crisis and scandal. She described the Duke's death as having left a huge void in her life, he told reporters, adding that the family was rallying round to make sure we're there to support her. Prince Philip was almost ever present at the Queen's side since she acceded to the throne in 1952, but had been seen less after retiring from public duties in 2017. It is expected she will now rely more heavily on Charles, together with his second wife, Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, as well as second-in-line Prince William and his wife at engagements, according to British media reports. Charles, now 72, is expected to accompany his mother for the state opening of Parliament on May 11th. Charles has already taken on more of the Queen's duties in recent years, including overseas, in preparation for his long-awaited succession. He also took over his father's role as the most senior royal male, and if he follows in his footsteps, he has a series of pressing issues to deal with. Younger royals have also accompanied her at events, including online via video conferencing during the coronavirus pandemic. Public sympathy for the current queen after her husband's death is high, and she has always topped polls as the most popular royal. Her presence and longevity have helped stave off Republican sentiment, even as attitudes to the monarchy have changed over the years. Giancarlo?
Thank you so much, Ariane, for that. You mentioned that the Queen will be now relying more on other family members, which include Prince Charles, who you said will be with her on May 11th for the state opening of Parliament. But will there be opportunities for the Queen to carry out any solo engagement?
Yes, Giancarlo. The Times quoted royal sources as saying Britain's longest reigning monarch will still carry out solo engagements. The Queen's clear desire to get out and about is in stark contrast to Britain's last female monarch, Queen Victoria, who wore black for 4 decades and barely made any public appearances after husband Albert's death in 1861. Because of her seclusion, she was led to being called the Widow of Windsor and increased the popularity of the Republican movement. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you so much, Ariane, for joining us today, giving us that report.
Thank you so much for having me today. Reporting from the United Kingdom, I am Ariane Celestino. We live in interesting times.
Okay, we go to Europe now, where Swiss residents will have access now to restaurant terraces and some cultural and leisure venues starting this Monday. We have John Kevin Glauser with us today with some more details. Hi, John.
Hello, Giancarlo. So yes, here in Switzerland, the government recently made a new announcement to update the rules and restrictions regarding the ongoing COVID-19 crisis. So even though the country is composed of different cantons that can each implement stricter restrictions depending on their situation, here are the measures that should be at least followed at the national level. So first, private meetings indoors cannot exceed 10 people. Then working from home is obligatory if it is possible to do so. Then sports and cultural activities are still restricted except for people under the age of 20. Indoor parts of restaurants, baths and clubs or similar places stay closed. The wearing of the mask stays obligatory in shops, public transportation and outdoors in crowded places. And lastly, people are highly recommended to get tested, especially when feeling symptoms. However, besides these measures, the Swiss government added some easing to the restrictions in their announcement. So firstly, as you said, terraces of restaurants can now reopen, and the same goes for leisure and cultural buildings, as well as fitness centers and other sport complexes. Events with spectators are allowed to the limit of 50 people indoors or 100 people outdoors. Then at the education level, universities and other schools at the same education level can now have classes in classrooms with a maximum of 50 students allowed. And lastly, amateur sport competitions are allowed with a maximum of 15 people, only for sports without physical contact. That's the update from Switzerland. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you so much, John. So it's nice to hear the updates coming from Switzerland, but you've given out plenty of rules and restrictions that are still in place. What are the risks for the people who do not respect these rules that have been put into place?
Well, actually, the violation of these rules or restrictions are explicitly registered as offense or infraction. So anyone violating any of these rules will risk a fine, and that fine can go from 50 to 200 Swiss francs, depending on the rule being violated. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Okay, thank you so much again, John, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today. I'm John Kevin Glauser, reporting from Geneva, Switzerland. We live in interesting times.
Okay, it's time for another break now, but please come back for some more E&I UK and Europe edition. Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. Now for some more interesting stories from around the United Kingdom and Europe this week. In Italy we go now, where plans to ease its coronavirus restrictions for the summer tourism activities is reported now by Jenny Santiago. Let's listen into her report.
Italy's government is looking at easing coronavirus restrictions in a major way in May and could reopen tourist businesses in June.
Italy's tourism minister, Massimo Garavaglia, told the Omnibus show on Italy TV channel LE7. June 2nd is a national holiday and that could be the time. He stated that advanced planning was needed for reopening the Italian tourism sector. The suggested timeline for reopening, which has not been officially confirmed, appears similar to that followed in 2020, when businesses slowly reopened throughout April and May, following a strict lockdown lasting almost 3 months. Last year's reopening of tourism was possible, Minister said, as Italy recorded a drastic decrease in the number of coronavirus contagion.
The minister's statements came after business owners and workers affected by the ongoing restrictions have staged a series of protests across many Italian cities, including one demonstration outside the Parliament building in Rome that descended into violence.
Several hundred people protested in Italy's capital on Monday, April 12th, against weeks of restaurant closures due to COVID-19 restrictions that many worry will continue through April. The protest by restaurant owners and others in Rome was the latest in a series of anti-lockdown demonstrations across Italy, including a Saturday protest in Naples by shopkeepers and a similar protest by restaurateurs in the capital last week. The partial loosening of restrictions in some regions of Italy did not, however, include the reopening of restaurants, which for now are expected to remain closed until the end of April. On Thursday, Prime Minister Mario Draghi said he hoped before the end of the month to loosen certain anti-COVID measures, such as curbs on restaurant dining. Health Minister Roberto Speranza, meanwhile, retired the need for the utmost caution as the country reported 9,789 new cases of coronavirus, and as the death toll approaches 115,000. He told La Repubblica Daily on Sunday, in May, depending on the parameters of the contagion and the ability to vaccinate the fragile, there may be conditions for less restrictive measures.
Reporting from EBC Milan, Italy, this is Jenny Santiago and we live in interesting times.
Okay, for the first time in our program, we're going to meet a professional coach specializing in fat loss and fitness, Aaron Paul Ortiz. Aaron is from Glasgow, Scotland, and is passionate about helping people improve the quality of their lives. And from next week, Aaron will be featured regularly in our show through his videos aimed at those who want to lose fat effectively and gain back their self-confidence. Welcome, Aaron, to our program.
Hi, Giancarlo.
Can you
Thanks
just
for
share with
having me.
us your story and what you have in store for our viewers in the coming weeks?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a fat loss coach, which basically means I help people to lose body fat and gain their confidence back without actually giving up their favorite food. So I see so many diets out there that you have to go totally extreme for you to be able to lose fat. And that's what I basically help people with, is to actually give them the knowledge on how to lose body fat without actually giving that up. So I started out with my own physical journey back when I was 14. I moved to UK. I'm very grateful to to move here. Such a great place. The only thing that I found was there was a language barrier when I moved here. So I couldn't talk to people, talk to others and stuff. And therefore I started feeling down about myself, started feeling all these negative feelings, self-confidence started dropping, had all these self-doubts. Therefore I wanted to escape from this feeling. So one of the ways for me to be able to do that was go on my video game. And then so what I would do is to go to school, go straight to home, and have a little bit of dinner with family, go straight to my room, play video games, all that stuff like that, right? And I did this for a year and a half, right? And then it was crazy. And one thing that literally just made me shift my mind was when I looked at one of the games I was playing, and one of it says 81 days. It's not 81 days as in 2 hours a day, it's 81 days straight of playing only one video game, and one of it is Call of Duty. And then I was thinking, I've spent 81 days straight to a video game, which is an illusion. I'm thinking I was growing as a person, but I'm not. I was thinking that I could have all these levels, this prestige, but as soon as I go back to the real world, I'm still the same person I was, who had these all this self-doubt, all this I was feeling all these negative feelings. So I thought, you know what, something had to change, right? So it's one of those things that you see on film. I literally looked at myself in the mirror and was thinking, wow, I was so skinny. Although I was skinny, I felt so unhealthy. I was lazy, I was feeling lazy, I was feeling so unproductive, all these feelings, because I was eating a lot of junk foods, I wasn't moving a lot. So it was a very tough time for me. And I thought, you know what, something had to change. And then that's when I decided. So I started doing I started being more resourceful, started doing press-ups at home. I started looking for things. I started boxing, and then I didn't want to start boxing then, but I wanted to start something. So a few sessions in, I had a little bit of anxiety to start with. But I started it, my coach helped me, and I've seen the transformation with my confidence, because I knew that I was improving myself physically and also mentally as well. And when I had that, I got inspired. 3 years in, I got inspired to start personal training, which I've been doing for the last 4.5 years now, and I help a lot of other people as well to go from where I was as well, which is all these negative feelings, to now losing weight, losing all this body fat, and also gain their confidence back, which is I'm really passionate to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Aaron. We have a few questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned how you got into physical training and your story so far, but since the lockdown and the forced closures of gyms and everything, how has that affected your work and your goals?
Yeah, so physical goals, it's affected a little bit because my goal right now is muscle gain. So I'm in that phase right now when I'm trying to gain weight, and I've been limited, so therefore I couldn't actually put much resistance to the muscle and stuff like that as well, because I'm limited with equipment, right? So I'm always just going for body weight. So that's affected a little bit, but I'm excited to get back. Scotland comes back in about 10 days, the gyms and stuff like that. But goals-wise with business, I've hired 2 mentors to help me, because I'm a huge believer of accountability, and we can't do this on our own. So I hired first mentor, that didn't work out well for me. Second mentor, I invested to another one, which is one of the best things that I've actually invested to in 2020. Helped me to shape my change my sort of like my mindset, because I always thought that I have to do a lot of personal training one-to-one, but I realized that I'm always going to be limited with how many people I'm able to sort of like impact. So this mentor of mine changed my sort of like mindset to go fully online coaching, which I had 4 months ago. And I've been sort of like impacting a lot more people, and sort of like because I've got more time, therefore I can always improve my program. So business-wise, it's actually improved myself, my mindset altogether. Physical-wise, as I said, I'm looking forward for the gym to open.
It's great. So you will be now contributing to our show regularly. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your videos have over the next few weeks and the benefits this will give to our viewers and the changes and steps put towards positivity in themselves?
Yeah, of course. So and again, as I mentioned at the start, like I'm a big fan of like, I want to help people to lose fat, but not in an extreme way, not to just cut out the carbs or not to just not eat any, like all these like shakes and stuff like that, right? I'm all about educating people. So we'll be focusing on the next 12 weeks to just focus on your mindset first, to make sure that you got the right mindset, because it all starts with your mindset. If you think that you can't do this and you have all these negative sort of like doubts and all that stuff like that, it's most likely that you won't be able to follow through. So in the first few weeks, it's all about mindset training. It's all about creating that foundation. And after that, I'm going to be teaching you all the knowledge about nutrition and sort of like exercises so that you can lose that body fat and sustain it at the same time.
Okay. So lastly, we look forward so much to your new videos. But do you have any quick tips for us today to stay positive during the pandemic?
Yeah, of course. So if you're just getting back into it, so for instance, if you're someone who's kind of like slipped through lockdowns, kind of like pulling off track, don't feel guilty about it, right? We all have, most of us have, right? And that's the first step, is don't feel guilty about it. The more guilt that you have, that you feel like you've let yourself down, all these negative feelings, you're going to get stuck in this cycle, right? You're going to have these negative feelings, therefore you might start using food to make yourself feel a little bit better, and you're going to get stuck in this cycle. Instead, tell yourself, like, it's all right, you're falling off track, and it's not something that we could help, but it's the most important thing is you getting back into it today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, right? So, and also second is start something small. You all want something quick, right? Therefore, we find something to change 5 times, like all at once. What usually happens is we try so much things that we end up failing in the first few days because it's too much things changes, right? What you want to realize is that it took you 1 year, 2 to 3 years to develop these bad habits. It's not going to take you 5 days to sort of like to lose this. So what you want to do is focus on that one thing that you can change today, right? You can sort of like change that one thing and focus on that, and then after you sort of like start developing that habits, then focus on the second habit that you can change, right? So second, again, first one is don't feel guilty. Second is focus on one thing that you can do today that you can actually improve.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us this week. We look forward so much to your videos upcoming in our next shows.
Thanks so much, Giancarlo, for having me here.
Okay, thank you. We will end today's show with our view from our window. We look forward now going to Geneva, Switzerland, and it's one of its main landmarks and symbols. It's the jet d'eau or water fountain. With water that projects at 200 kilometers an hour, the fountain stands proud on Lake Geneva at 140 meters high and is one of the tallest fountains in the world, located at the very heart of the city and on Lake Geneva. It is easily accessible and has been a tourist attraction since 1891. You can get close to the fountain on foot. Just be ready to get wet in case the wind blows towards you. We hope you enjoyed the view of the fountain as you walk through the parks by the lakes, and you can even visit it by boat. These views are courtesy of Christine Benedicto from our Switzerland Bureau. Thank you so much, Christine, for this wonderful view. And that's it for today's program. We hope you stay safe and keep positive as we bring you more stories next week from around the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Giancarlo Matera, and we live in interesting times.